There are a lot of debates online about what the worst cartel execution video really is. Names like Funkytown or the Ghost Rider video come up a lot in these discussions. But this new video, which just appeared online, might just have them beat. People who watch cartel videos all the time are now saying this is the most horrific video they've ever seen. Obviously, do not watch it. It's the kind of thing you can't just forget once the video stops. It's so disturbing that you'll be thinking about it for the rest of your life. And if you suffer from nightmares, you can bet some of these images are going to pop up again while you sleep. That's why we're here. This video will give you all the terrifying details without you having to suffer from the mental scars that would come with actually watching the video. But there's another warning I need to give you. If you're sensitive, you should probably not watch this video either. Even the descriptions of this terrible video are going to be upsetting. Don't say we didn't warn you. If you're still with us, then good luck. Before we get into the actual video, you're probably already wondering which cartel posted it online. The video first appeared on social media on the 22nd of June. That's 2023 if you're watching in the future, and it appears to have been uploaded by Cartel del Noreste, a cartel operating in Zacatecas. The Zacatecas province has become a battleground for ruthless cartels in recent years, particularly the Sinaloa Cartel and Jalisco New Generation Cartel, better known as CJNG. It's so bad out there that the cartel members are basically using police as target practice. The cops who aren't corrupt have to leave work without a gun, according to law, and they're getting murdered at a rapid rate. But it's not just the police who are in trouble. The province currently has a murder rate 97% higher than the national average. That's pretty shocking considering how much cartel violence there is across the country. Cartel del Noreste are kind of the new kids on the block, and they're looking to make their mark by terrifying their rivals. That's what this video is intended for. They're making sure that cartel members who oppose them will be treated with the most unimaginable brutality. And they captured a member of a rival cartel, La Linea, to prove this. This video is unusually long, at 6 minutes and 13 seconds. So brace yourself, there's a lot of torture that you can fit into that amount of time. To make it even worse, the footage is pretty high quality, much better than what you normally see in cartel videos like this. It means that you can see every terrible detail, even when you really wish you couldn't. So if you think you can handle it, let's get to what happens in this shocking video. It really is sickening and genuinely upsetting, so we're giving you this one last chance to click away. When it starts, you can immediately see that it's nighttime. It looks like it's taking place out in a desert, far away from any other people. The only light seems to be coming from the headlights of their vehicles. There's one victim on his knees, blindfolded, with his hands tied behind his back. He's surrounded by heavily armed cartel members wearing black tactical gear. He's wearing a shirt that reads La Linea, the cartel he's apparently a member of. It's worth remembering about now that these cartels will sometimes torture people who are completely innocent though. However, we're going to assume, because of the severe and targeted violence of this video, the victim probably was a cartel member. They would have wanted to show people who know the victim that they could also find themselves in this terrible situation. In the first 17 seconds of the video, one of the cartel members reads out a statement to camera. He's threatening all other cartels in the area, saying if they send more people, they'll all be tortured like this. He tells them that the Zacatecas territory belongs to Cartel del Noreste. As he's speaking, the camera goes closer to the victim. When the statement is over, the victim is immediately pushed to the ground by a sicario. He's face down in the sand as someone stands on his back and his arms are pulled up behind him, securely pinning him down. He doesn't make a noise. He might not even have known what they were about to do. As he's being held down face first, a cartel member steps up holding what looks like a butcher's knife. He kneels down next to the victim, who still can't move, and begins the torture by slicing across the back of the victim's head. It's a super clean cut and didn't take any effort, so you can bet the knife was incredibly sharp. It's possible the person holding the knife had some kind of training too. The blood starts flowing immediately, pooling in the sand next to the victim's head. Then, the sicario skillfully inserts the knife into the wound, running the knife between the victim's scalp and his skull so he can remove the skin and flesh. He starts pulling the scalp back so he can reach deeper with the knife. It only takes a few seconds for the victim's scalp to be completely removed from the back of his head. It feels professional, like he's done this many times. There's almost no cutting, no chunks of flesh on their own. He's making sure he peels the victim's skin off all in one intact piece. It's almost like watching a chef separate the fillet of a fish from the bone. The Sicario moves on, now removing the skin from the sides of the victim's head. It only takes a few skillful glides of the blade and the skin peels off. Then he slides the blade under the victim's ears and removes them, also keeping them attached to the skin. Now, the victim's head doesn't even look like a human head anymore. It's red with blood, but you can just about make out a few patches of white bone. The cartel member moves forward to the top of the victim's head now. He slices and peels back the last bit of hair-covered scalp. Disturbingly, the victim is somehow holding his nerve and hasn't made a sound. You can bet they've been pumping him full of drugs to stop him passing out or dying before they finish torturing him. That's common practice in these cartel videos. So that might have something to do with his silence. He might also be in shock, but there's no doubt he's not only alive, but awake while this is happening to him, as we're about to find out. Now, the Sicarios turn the victim over onto his back. As they roll him over, the skin which has been flayed off his head covers his face. It's sickening to see just how much flesh is flopping loose around the man's face now. The cartel member who was holding him down now puts his boot on the victim's chest to stop him from moving. Now, we find out the victim is still definitely conscious as he calmly asks his torturer to please stop standing on his chest. That's the only sound he makes. Of course, they don't listen. The man with the knife grabs hold of the loose scalp, pulling at it to get the knife underneath it, as the blade separates the skin from the victim's forehead and makes a stomach-churning, fleshy-tearing sound. Luckily, you're not listening to it yourself, because that sound will definitely reappear in your nightmares. The torturer works surprisingly quickly. He removes the skin from the forehead down, taking the man's eyelids with it. Then his nose, which is cut off and peels away attached to the rest of the skin. Then the lips peel away too. It takes just 20 seconds. As the last of the skin is peeled off the victim's chin, the Sicario realizes he missed a few patches of skin on the man's cheekbones, so he quickly goes back and slices them off the bone. The victim now looks like something you'd see in a horror film. His face is just blood, with bulging eyeballs and exposed teeth as the only features left that show he's human. The Sicario takes the skin he's just flayed off the head and flops it over onto the victim's chest. The victim seems only barely alive, probably not even fully conscious anymore. So the Sicario makes a deep cut across his victim's neck, severing his arteries and windpipe. You watch as the victim dies. At least, he looks dead, but the Sicario is not done yet. The torturer now pushes the knife up under the victim's jawbone and into his mouth, cutting out his throat. He reaches in and pulls the victim's tongue out onto his neck before sawing it off with a blade. Then he cuts off the victim's shirt and pushes the knife into the victim's chest. The torturer makes a long, deep cut all the way down the victim's body, putting his internal organs on display. The man has already lost so much blood that this drastic cut almost doesn't bleed at all. Now, we find out that despite what we've seen, the victim actually isn't dead yet. His heart is beating hard and fast. The Sicario reaches into the victim's chest and holds his still beating heart in his hand. He pulls at it a little and finally cuts it out. He holds it up as it still pulsates weakly, showing the last desperation to survive as the Sicario holds it up to the camera. He kneels down and holds it in front of the victim's face as the camera focuses on it. The victim is clearly dead, but his heart just won't stop. For a full 2 minutes, the Sicarios all watch in silence with only the wind whispering in the background as the camera captures the heart slowly beating out. It flutters for the last time and finally stops. Then the video mercifully ends. As this video was just released, we don't have any more information that might explain this brutality. We'll just have to wait and see what this brutal cartel does next. Let us know your thoughts in the comments section, and before you leave, don't forget to like this video and subscribe to Criminal Corner so you don't miss the next ones.